everyone, my name is Nicole and welcome back to my channel. This is my life update, why I am changing majors, 25, been in school for 7 years. Yes to all of this. It is true, I'm not lying. So to understand me and my story and my current situation, I have to go back to me as a young child, per se. Me and my relationship with my career path, my chosen career path, has been happening since I was a baby. I do not know exactly from what age or anything, but according to people, I have said when I was little that I wanted to be an accountant. So both my parents were in accounting. My father has his own accounting firm, and over the years I would always go and visit and hang out and all that stuff. Up until I was 15 years old, I decided after my first year of high school that I wanted to work my summers, winters, and spring breaks because for the most part, I really didn't have anything else to do during those times. Both my parents worked, so it wasn't like we can go to the beach all the time. My mom would take maybe 1 week and a few days we'll go to the beach. But other than that, I would mainly work with my parents, well, with my father. Now we all work together, but for that time, it was just my father, and I would go to work with him. And from that, I enjoyed it and I liked it. And honestly, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So when people would ask me if I wanted to be an accountant, I said, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, because I really didn't know. Then comes my junior year of high school. And I took a psychology class and I really liked it. And I went to my father and I asked him, I'm thinking of doing psychology because psychology sounds pretty cool to me. And at that time, he had told me, look, you gotta think about what jobs you can get. Right now, psychology professions are declining. And I didn't really look into it, so I kind of just brushed it off of doing psychology. And I also had watched a movie. It was a Tyler Perry movie, I think, and one of the women was a psychologist, and she ended up turning crazy at the end of the movie. So I was like, oh my god, I do not want that to be me, so I am not gonna do psychology. Mind you, going into a major in psychology has nothing to do with just being a psychologist. You can do a lot more things than just being a psychologist with a psychology degree, which I know kind of now, but back then I didn't know that. Again, little by little, fast forward more, I end up going into accounting once I graduated high school. I went into accounting. First I did my AA, I got my AA, and then I transferred to a university. I had started off at a community college, and then I transferred after my AA to a university called FIU. FIU is an international university, Florida International University, actually, and because they are very known for accounting, I had to take an entrance exam to get into the School of Accounting in FIU. I took the test, I passed it, and I was taking my first course in accounting, and I had to withdraw because I was flunking. Because I wasn't prepared. I was taking 3 classes at the time, and apparently you should have only taken that 1 class, and I didn't think anything of it because I used to take a whole bunch of classes in community college, and I would pass, and I would pass with flying colors. So I didn't really understand that aspect. Because of the other classes I didn't do well, I lowered my GPA, which ended up I couldn't take the class for the next semester. So I was trying to increase my GPA or do something. I don't know what happened. I don't remember exactly, but for some reason I had to retake the accounting test to get into the School of Accounting in FIU. I retook that test, I flunked it. You can only take it 3 times, I believe. I retook it the 3rd time, I flunked it. Now, it is 2000, it's the end of 2015, and literally, my life felt like it took this huge fall into a lake. I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't get out of it. And I literally fell into this depression because I identified myself so much with accounting and the fact that I wasn't going to be in a position. I knew somehow, I can tell that I knew that because I took this big dive into this ocean, that I knew I wasn't going to do what I wanted to do. And that I wasn't good enough, or I didn't really want it that bad. And that was, I wanted to get into one of the 4 big accounting firms in the world. Now, these accounting firms are PwC, Deloitte, KPMG, and Ernst & Young. These I wanted to get into, and I wanted it so bad, and I wanted to get an internship, and I wanted to do all these things, and I knew somehow in my soul that this plummet took me down a rabbit hole that I did not know I wanted. Like, I didn't know that I needed to get out of accounting. Somehow, I realized over time, over this span, that there were so many things that pretty much tried to get me out of accounting. And it was within my life because I've always kind of liked it, but I guess I was doing it more for my parents than anything else. I didn't really try to do it for me. And I figured I get into this, I do this, and in the end, I just figure out something that I want to do later on in life. But sometimes that's not just how it works. That is not how life works. Life just slaps you in the face and says, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to do about it, and this is how you got to fix it. And so I had 2 major decisions. I either had to change my major, which back then people would say you have to change it to finance because that's apparently what accounting majors used to do, but finance and accounting are 2 separate things. I am actually very good in accounting, but very horrible in finance. So let's just get that out the way. Wasn't going to do finance. I think I had flunked a finance class already at that point, and I was like, nope, not going into finance, so I'm going to continue with accounting. So I moved from FIU to FAU, which is Florida Atlantic University. It's actually 45 minutes to an hour away from my home. And I had to go maybe I went once a week. The first semester I went twice a week. Then after that I would go once a week and I would drive over there and take all my classes in one day. Continuing to go into the route of accounting. I go through all these classes. I flunk some, I retake some, it's a whole mess. I get to the point of accounting information systems. Now, this is a class that you have to take for accounting. You cannot graduate with an accounting degree if you do not take this class. And there's a lot of terminology you have to understand with accounting information systems. I am horrible with memorization. Me and memorization do not go hand in hand. I've passed all my accounting classes because we have numbers, and I am so good with numbers. And the memorization, I kind of just have learned over time because these are things that I had to learn to work with my father. So I've worked with my father from high school every winters, summers, and spring breaks for the most part. Then I actually started working part-time, and I've been working part-time ever since 2012, and that is when I started, in August 2012 is when I started college. I graduated May 2012 from high school. I'm currently 25 years old, and I have been in school for 7 years. I finished my AA by summer of 2015, so that took maybe like 2.5 years. And then I've been kind of trailing this bachelor's degree since 2015 all the way to now 2019. So pretty much almost 4 years. I have taken maybe 1 or 2 breaks, but for the most part, it's pretty much retaking these classes that I shouldn't have been taking because I knew when I changed schools, I started getting into makeup. And that's when I knew that I wasn't really going to do accounting forever. I knew that accounting wasn't what I was going to do for the rest of my life, but I didn't know how to break it to my family. I didn't know how or what else I would do, so I just continued with it. And that's one of the things that I feel like, at least, I don't regret my choices. I don't regret what I did and how I went through, but I do feel like I should have at least started taking other classes to see really what else I enjoyed outside of accounting. Even just with electives and stuff like that, to test out different things. Because there's so many times where you're here and you're there and you're like just going through life and kind of like choo, choo, choo. And honestly, I didn't love it enough to spend enough time in it. And that was the problem. I would come in and I would take these classes and I would barely do work because really that's not what I wanted to do. But then honestly, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So now I'm pretty much slapped in the face. I attempted my third attempt of accounting information systems and I failed it, and that was spring of 2019. Then I was trying to hold it in for as much as possible because I knew that my life was gonna fall in deep again, just like it did when I had to change schools. So it was either I changed schools again or I changed my major, and it's breaking it to my family. Technically, it was the easiest thing of life, but in my head, in my mind, I made it out to be like a war. I made it feel like, in my head, like they were going to be super disappointed in me, like if they were going to disown me, like if they wouldn't, they would get so mad, like if I made it seem like they will make it seem like I was going to amount to nothing in this process, which was not even close. Like literally all they said was, don't worry about it, it's okay, we'll figure it out. But I made it feel like it was the end of the world in my head. Although I knew I was gonna make it out of it alive, like I knew I was good, but it was telling them that I felt like was gonna be a disaster. I was afraid to tell them. I was afraid to get their reaction. I didn't think that the reaction was gonna be as positive and as calming as it was, when technically, my parents are very calming people. So I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about disappointing them in some way. And I realized that I didn't disappoint them, but I had to finally come to a communication part of it in which I was avoiding for all odds. Then what happens is I end up kind of like having a freak out moment, and within this freak out moment, it was like I wasn't myself. I literally felt like in this freak out moment, I was not myself. And that's what scared me so much, to the point where the next day I talked to them about it. And I told them, this is what's going on. Because they asked me, they didn't know what was going on. And the next day, I went to my mom and I told her, this is what's going on. Like, I'm freaking out because of this. And they were like, it's okay. It's alright. We'll figure it out. The easiest thing of life, my head just overwhelmed everything. And that's a lot of like what I want to explain and show you guys at certain points, because I want to get you to understand and to teach you guys that we make up so much frustration, and more frustration in our head than what's really out there. And honestly, sometimes it might happen at the moment. People might get into fights and arguments and all that stuff. But then once we take time to calm down and process and learn, it really isn't that big of a deal. And that's what I want to share with you guys. But now, the actual news, which is I have decided, of course, to not go into changing schools and go into accounting again, but to also change my major. So I've been taking this time this summer to decide what major to go into, and technically I really don't know. I have been leaning a little bit towards marketing and like kind of like a content creation marketing aspect, because as you guys know, I love content creation. I have been creating content for the past maybe like 3 years already. It's been since 2016. Yeah, 3 years. And I've been creating content in different ways, getting into that a little bit, thinking about that. But then I'm also thinking about, well, what other avenues can I go into? So for this, to be able to graduate in FAU, I have to take 2 classes, but I'm forced to go into this kind of general studies type of degree, which is pretty much means nothing to nobody, but it just says that you did classes and you're actually getting a bachelor's in something. That's not nothing, but it's something. That's what they have this degree. It's like, oh, you're not specialized in anything, but you took classes here and you took enough credits to be able to graduate in something. That's pretty much what I'm doing and what I'm getting, which is annoying, but I have 2 classes left. The new advisor said, honestly, just go in and take an easy class that you will enjoy, that doesn't have a restriction, which is the most annoying thing because everything has restrictions. But there's a few classes I've been interested in, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I should take starting in the fall. Today it's summer. We are in June. We are in the 2nd of July. So, you know, I'm still in my process. I still have all of July to really think about it. I did send an application to change majors because I had to get the general studies. I would get the bachelor's in general studies. So then I'm thinking about going to FIU and getting a second bachelor's. Now, because I've already gotten my first bachelor's, which would be in general studies, I would still have to take 30 credits, which is pretty much kind of like a year's worth of school again to get a second bachelor's. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want to go into because I want this to really be what I love to do. You know, above anything else, I want to be able to do something that I love to do and that I want to do, and that even if, you know, I don't 100% blow up with YouTube, I still want to have YouTube because I want to be able to help people through YouTube. And I feel like I can do that once I become my most authentic self. And then everybody's saying, but what does that mean? And it just means you being you. And sometimes I've been so stuck. I'm going to make another video on my thought process between beauty and what I really want to do and all that. I'm going to link it over here so you guys can check it out because that's going to be a whole other video of a whole bunch of stuff that is just all over the place, and it's a mess. It's my head, and my head's all over the place all the time. So go check that out. Now another video, I'm going to transfer to over here. There is a video that I'm going to also make. I'm going to put it over here, letting you know my changes in my YouTube, my changes in my Instagram, and all the changes that I'm going to make. When I make that video, I'm going to post it up here so you guys can watch it and see it and understand where I am, what I'm doing, and why I'm making these changes to my YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much. I love you, and I'll see you in these 2 videos.